welcome to you, Emmanuel. And as I start saying, without you, I don't think we would have a Play with a Pro.
Well, it's great to be part of this big enterprise. Lots of people, lots of young students come to us worldwide while we perform on tour, while we teach in an academy somewhere, and there's always the same recurring questions happening in the standard repertoire, like Mozart concertos, like orchestral excerpts, like the standard Poulenc sonata, Prokofiev sonata, and these kind of things. Then there's typical questions regarding what is the French flute school, how do you consider yourself, how it is to play in an orchestra, such as Berlin Philharmonic, how it is to play as a soloist, how do you manage, how much you practice, what kind of practice do you do, how do you keep yourself fit, all these things. I guess you got many more questions, and the viewers right now, it's your time really to go on your keyboards and ask us questions in this live chat. I think you gathered some questions already.
We have
Adam?
Lots of questions already ticking in. And first question, Emmanuel, are you ready?
I'm ready. I mean, I'm going to try to answer these questions.
Yeah.
You know, it's a kind of a one-way masterclass, because you see me, but I don't see you. So you know a bit more about me than I know about you.
That's right.
Watching your screen. But I'm very happy that you get a chance to ask your question, the thing that you always wanted to ask, and didn't have the opportunity till now. Yeah. So let's kick it off. Let's start.
And also, just to so you know, Emmanuel, we only have 1 hour, so we should get started now. So there will not be time to answer all questions. Okay, but I think it could be fun, Emmanuel, to start really far away from India. There's a guy called Manav Ganjo. Manav Ganjo says, I'm a student in Mumbai, India, and I'll be attending the live talk with Mr. Emmanuel Pahud. I would like to ask him the question, what is the correct technique to produce a good vibrato, and does this change for different styles of music?
Vast subject. It's about as vast as the country you're sending this message from. It's a vibrato. The vibrato thing is as vast as a continent. There are so many different vibratos as there are flute players. Listen to singers, listen to different cultures, and you will hear very different sound, very different kinds of vibratos also. The same thing happens on the flute. It's not because you've been trained in one school that you learn to vibrate in the same way. It has a lot to do with sensitivity. Imagine, now if you can look maybe on the side, the air comes from the lungs up towards the head. I imagine it goes up in the head and then goes down and is then expelled through the mouth. And these points here give us the opportunity to create a kind of turbulence. With this turbulence, the air starts vibration that just goes into the sound as something like we call vibrato. But of course, other people think about it very differently. That's the way I think about it. I know it's not a scientific way to explain and to talk about vibrato, but that's the way I feel about it. And I think a lot about flute playing or about wind playing, since we don't see what is happening actually with the air, is about sensations, about what you feel inside your body. And what I really do think is that I send the air all the way up into my head, and then it comes down, like all of the water circuit that's below a faucet, basically. It goes the same way, up, then down, and then up and out. And going all this way, then the air gets loaded with your imagination, with some vibrations, with some turbulence, and then comes out in a controlled manner, thanks to the lips, where it then hits the head joint properly. I'm going to try to give you an example, because you shouldn't see any difference here in the throat or with the lips. It's not produced by narrowing the airstream here with the throat or by cutting it. Otherwise, it's going to go like... It's going to really get cut and sliced. Now, if you want to play something with a nice and open vibrato, independently from what the fingers are actually doing, then you're going to... I don't see anything happening neither here in my mouth, neither in the throat, nor I can assure you, and nothing is happening also with the lungs. I'm not shaking my upper body or anything in order to produce the vibrato. So it's really something that happens inside the body that you cannot see, and it's certainly just sustaining the sound and not slicing it. I like to make a comparison with the string instruments. With a string instrument, you can see the bow. You can see the vibrato with the fingers on the strings. Well, the same thing is happening with the airstream. The airstream is basically the bow, and the vibration of the string should be also happening here somewhere. But how exactly this is happening? There have been some studies that try to analyze this and try to make it more scientific, but I haven't read anything really seriously scientific about this. And sorry if there are great scientists that try to look into this. I haven't read all the reports, of course, and there's a lot of ongoing surveys about what is actually happening while we're playing music, but I know that most medical studies are more about what is happening in the brain and in the chemistry.
Okay, that was a fantastic answer. I hope you got some out of it from India. The next one, Emmanuel, is from Judy Conrad, who writes to you from Phoenix, and she writes the following. I teach at an after-school music program for low-income children here in Phoenix. Embouchure, aperture. What changes do you suggest for registered leaps and also going from pianissimo to fortissimo and back? And generally, what is a good embouchure for playing the flute? So there are many questions.
Yeah, I think if you try to control intervals or dynamics with the lips, then you go the wrong path, you go the wrong road. It's a wind instrument, it's not a lip instrument. All the other instruments are controlled directly in terms of vibration or strength with the lips. All brass instrument, all of the wind instrument, reed instruments, you do hold the instrument between your lips or between your teeth, and there is a direct contact, physical contact.
Right.
On the flute, it's not the case. We blow on top of the instrument. That's already kind of sound. I'm not even touching the flute. There's about 2 inches. And the closer I get, the more precise I got to get. Then I tried to make it cleaner. If you blow too much on the side, then you're going to spill some air and it's going to sound dirty. If you blow really in the middle of that wall, the front wall of the head joint, then this is really going to be clean and nice sound. Of course, it takes years to know where you're actually standing, particularly with the different embouchure that you adopt. And this is what you're referring to, I guess. In the beginning, when you want to play with a very high pressure in the high notes or with a very low pressure in the lower notes. But let me give you an example of something that goes up and down and where I do not move the lips much at all. Etc., etc., etc. This goes for a long while. This is Joachim Andersen's concert study, Opus 15, number 3 in G major, and it really goes like arpeggios throughout the range of the instruments. When you're playing in Ibert concerto in the third movement in the cadenza, we have legato throughout the range of the instrument. If you look at what happened with my lips while I was playing this, not much is happening. You cannot see much. I'm just trying to absorb the shocks with the lips and with the air cushion that I'm using to play the flute. The air pressure has to be achieved inside your body. With the same fingering, with more pressure, you're playing the second octave. With less pressure, you're playing the first octave. And then with more complicated fingerings, mostly by opening this first key, what would be an octave key on all other woodwind instruments, then you get into the third octave. And then also with even more air pressure. But whether you use a lot of airstream or a very thin airstream. This is going to define the dynamics. So, of course, you should see something in the opening here a little bit. It should be wider when you need more air, when you send more air and need more volume, and it should be narrower when you need less air when you want to play piano. This is why people who squeeze the lips or tighten the lips whenever they want to play louder and more expressive are not going to play any louder. They're going to play sharper, they're going to play dirtier in the sound, but it's not going to sound any louder.
Okay, that was another great explanation. Here comes another one, Emmanuel. Are you ready? I can tell you, it's funny, in Copenhagen it's usually not very warm, but when Emmanuel comes to town, then temperature rises to, we're sitting here like in a sauna. Anyways, here's a question from Joy, and she has a question, very simple one. What are your daily warm-ups, Emmanuel?
Well, daily warm-ups is it's a bit like when you wake up in the morning, and whether you like tea or coffee or muffins or toast or whatever, you always got to get a bit of a fresh a fresh start into the day. And this is exactly what you need to do with the warm-up exercise. You need to get all these fingers and the lips get loose in order to be able to play well. So I suggest something like 15 to 30 minutes of exercises, whether it's scales, arpeggios. Take Taffanella and Gobert number 6 or number 10, for instance. The arpeggios would be something like... And while you're doing this, watch what you're doing with the fingers in order to keep something really... really very smooth with the fingers. Play legato not only with the air but also with the fingers. Not too loud, not too softly, just mezzo forte, something easy, but just move around up and down in the key that you're playing. Then you can also go to another daily exercise by Taffanella and Gobert, the scales. And try to be as musical as possible. When you play this, be gentle to you, to your neighbors, to your family, to whoever lives with you, and play some music. Don't just play stupid exercise, because if you practice stupidly, you will learn how to play stupidly. You've got to practice beauty, you've got to practice art. A technical exercise is not just a technical exercise. It means something if you're incorporating it into music. So whatever you're doing on the instrument, when you take your flute, cherish it and play some music. Make music out of any movement that you're doing with this instrument. That's the most important thing that you've got to do in the routine. Then there's another exercise I'd like to point at. It's also called daily exercise. If you do all that program daily, this is going to be much more than half an hour. I'll explain some variations just after this. But you should not repeat the same thing every day, but have a plan, a schedule where every 4 or 5 days you get back to what you've been doing 4 or 5 days ago. So you don't do exactly the same thing every day, but you've got your kind of set of exercises that keep you well in shape and keep you your fingers and your air control, the articulation and the lips really working well together. The other good exercise is by Mathieu André Reichert from his 7 daily exercises, number 4, because it's a very nice walk through a key. This is something that's going to help you when you're playing Poulenc or Prokofiev or Beethoven or Schubert or Mozart. It goes like this. So you see there, you not only have the notes that are in one key, but you're also turning around these notes. Just like when you're playing a Mozart concerto. All of that you find in these daily exercises, all these turns and curves within a key, around a key. This is what composers are using. Now, all these exercises you can play in every key, which means from the lower B and breathe whenever you need to breathe, but just do it nicely and properly. Take time to do it, no stress, just to make a really nice and deep and relaxed breath. Now, after this, you go to the octave higher, as long as you can. So, this is only going to the top G, so you have another lot of keys that you will be able to octaviate and play an octave higher before you get to the top C. And even there it doesn't end. You can also practice further with top C sharp, top D, and then once it gets really too loud for everybody and just not playable anymore with the fingerings, then of course you just stick to the lower octave. For the scales, Michel Debos, one of my teachers, has published a very interesting collection of exercise, articulation, tempos, dynamics, phrasings for scales that go really crazy, like for instance, that's one of the examples, but you can also go crescendo, diminuendo, but you can also do the opposite. You can invent your own exercise, your own variations, and by practicing this with all combinations, with all tempos, etc., you can really combine and never practice exactly the same, even practicing every day these exercises by having a plan of starting with a different articulation in a different key. It was going to take about 30 days until you get back to the combination that you had in the beginning. So during 1 month, you'll be practicing different things every day. Yeah. And this is how to keep healthy on the instrument. Mm-hmm. Don't practice mistakes. Practice making music.
Mm-hmm. Great, Emmanuel. There are so many...
I'll try to be brief now. I just wanted to make a point on certain basics on the first answers. But I think these things are we're going to find ourselves repeating these kind of things. So I'll try to avoid stressing the same points again and try to be as colorful as possible and addressing the issues in a shorter manner.
But no, it's fantastic. I'm sure all of you guys will just take this in and get a lot of inspiration from it. I think it's wonderful. But yes, there are many, many questions now, so it's a little difficult for me to pick, but I pick one here. Hello, thank you for this wonderful possibility to ask you something, Emmanuel. And this is a very different kind of question. I play quite a lot of auditions at the moment. Luckily, I pass most of the time through the first round, but it's difficult for me to stay concentrated for the next rounds. Do you have a tip for me how you can manage auditions over many hours, waiting and play perfectly concentrated at this one moment? And this is from Alina Weidlich.
From?
Yeah, she doesn't write. I guess she's from Germany, actually. Yeah, she is from Detmold, Germany.
Detmold, Germany, right, okay. So I know a bit about the audition process in Europe, which is quite different from the way it happens in the United States, or it can happen in Asia, China or Japan. Now, of course, in Europe, everybody's invited to show up in the beginning of the audition, and then you never know when you're going to play because they pick a letter to start with, and then they're going to go alphabetically from that letter. So if you're letter A and you're not lucky, you're going to be last. And this is like waiting a long time, and by the time the discussion has been happening about who's going to stay for the next round, there's another big amount of time that has been happening. But it's not precise. It doesn't say the first round is going to start at 9, the second round is going to start at 1, and the third round is going to start at 2, because you can never tell. It really depends on how many candidates are going to be selected for the next round and how many have played and for how long, and how long the discussion will have been. How to stay concentrated. First of all, you've got to prepare not only the first round well, but all the other rounds, all the pieces that you're going to play, and you've even got to be better on the pieces that you have to play for the finals, because this is where the competition is getting more serious. If somebody's together with you in the next round, that means that the game is getting more serious. So therefore you've got to be even better than in the first round. It's always good to have a good start, but it's even better if you use that and capitalize on it by knowing your pieces for the second round, for the third round, or for the finals even better than the ones for the first round. That's the first thing. And a lot of people go to competitions or auditions with orchestra just saying, oh yeah, well I prepared the first round because anyway I know I'm going to go through. No, you go to a competition, to an audition to win. Otherwise, you don't need to go. And I don't mean this for you personally, of course, asking this question, but this is a general thing to do. Why go to a competition or to an audition if it's just just for a walk, or just to say hi, or just to test how you keep up with the others, or that's not the point. Now the other thing is, when you start playing, you see how long, once you've played, or once the first person has played, you see more or less how long it lasts per candidate and how long it's going to be. More or less, you calculate, multiply it by the number of candidates, and then you figure out when you're going to play or how long it's going to be till they start discussing, until they're going to tell you the results. And so you have a rough idea about when it should go on. Just be there always 1 hour ahead, so that then you're never surprised, and you're not caught by surprise. And then have the same procedure every time in the hour that you before you should be playing. Then just practice a little bit, practice the same exercise you would just to warm up, just to make sure that you keep in shape and everything is oiled and really going well, that you're warm and that you're ready to play at any moment. And do not focus too much on the pieces that you're playing on that day, because you might just overdo it also and just force it a little bit, and that's not what you want to do. So if you're really well prepared, this is what you can do best. On that day, is forget about the competition as much as you can, of course, in order to play some music, because as a jury member on the panel, I would say that's what you want to hear. When somebody comes there and a candidate makes you forget about the situation of the audition or the competition.
Great. Here comes another one from Rachel Barker. Hello, it's an honor to write to you. I often get stiff fingers and cramps in my hand. My technique is good, but I still continue to suffer the strains. Is there a different posture I could try?
Without seeing your posture, it's really difficult, and without seeing you. Yeah. Anyway, it's really difficult to answer this question. Obviously, if you talk about pain and strain, yes, there's a problem with your posture, definitely. So there are different postures that you should try. Not knowing your age either, I don't know if it's a medical situation or if it's just something that you can take care of yourself or together with a teacher. Basically, the weight of the instrument has to be resting not on the fingers. So if you hold your flute like this on the sides, you're going to grab it really tight, and you're going to have a lot of stress on each finger. And this is really going to be very tiring. This is probably what's going to hurt. But try as much as possible to have both hands below the instrument, so that the weight naturally lies on the arms, on both arms. This one being more in the center, and this one just lifting a little bit and helping. And then on the wrists and the arms naturally, without any strain, without any strength, just naturally. It's easy to say, I know. We're all different. So we have different arm length, we have different flexibility of the joints here, etc. So we're all going to have different postures here. Here also with the fingers. I'm not particularly flexible, therefore the limit of how much I can bend backwards here is reached very quickly. Nevertheless, I have absolutely no problem holding the flute by keeping as much as possible, again, the wrists below the instrument. Sometimes you might want to go a little bit further up with the right hand, but always try to keep these fingers as round as possible on the instrument so that you can really play. When I say think that you're playing legato with the fingers, because if you start grabbing and just if you see a white spot looking at yourself in a mirror here at the end of the fingers on the keys, this means that you're grabbing much too hard. It's going to be more relaxed, and it's going to be the color of the fingers should not be changing while you're pressing on the instrument. I myself can play 8 hours, 10 hours every day, rehearsing in the Chamber Music Festival and then performing the concert in the evening. Absolutely no problems with the lips, no problems with the jaws, with the neck, with the shoulders, with the back, with the fingers, with the arms, whatever. The first thing that needs a break is the brain. This is what is working hardest actually when you're playing music, because you always think about what you're going to play next, always controlling what you are playing right now, and always reacting to what you just heard, the previous note that you've been playing, and adjusting and correcting if it's too loud, if it's too, I don't know, if you missed the note, or if it's too short or too long, depending, adjusting on the acoustics, or adjusting on the other instruments around you. All of that is what is happening. So the brain work is actually the most demanding one, and for concentration purpose, you should always take a break after 1.5 hours. At the latest, 1.5 hours, 90 minutes. Then you should take a little break, 10-15 minutes, get some air, fresh air, get some water also, and then go back to work or to practice. Mm-hmm. For me, it's go back to life, basically, because playing the flute or playing music is just my life. Yeah. I don't consider it being working.
Mm-hmm. Great, Emmanuel. Here comes a very different question, and it's from far away. It's actually from Iran. Hello, I'm Yasaman, and I'm from Iran. Dear Mr. Pahud, I have a thick lower lip and a teardrop and long front teeth. My teacher told me that you have a physical problem and you can't play the flute, although I can make the sound of every note after almost 1 year. What do you suggest me? What kind of embouchure should I have to make a beautiful sound?
I guess this goes beyond what I can give you now. I don't have a magic recipe for what kind of embouchure makes a proper sound. We are, again, all different and should look into your need for expression. And now that you can play all the notes on the instrument after a year of playing, if your teacher says that your teeth are too big, or your lower lip is too big, or that your nose is too short, or your ears are shaped in a manner that's not appropriate to play the flute, well, you know, look at the people playing Indian flute, for instance. These are much bigger instruments. The keys are there are no keys on the bamboo musical flute, and you have to cover the holes not with the tip of the fingers, but with the middle of the fingers, because they're so far apart that you could not possibly reach them with your hand like this. And then there's some tiny people. Look at Hari Prasad Shaurasia, how he plays this flute. He plays on the left side because it's more comfortable for him. Now we have a problem with the camera because we set up everything okay. to play the flute on the other side. But it's really a very, very weird thing to have a flute player playing on the other side. Obviously, from the two Doppler brothers, Franz Doppler and his brother were playing duets together, and one was playing on the left side and the other one on the right side, which made it very impressive concerts also to see the brothers performing these pieces together. Back to your question with the embouchure, there's no proper embouchure. The only proper embouchure is the one that allows you to make music, to make sound. If I was seeing you, I could probably help you. But without this information, of course, there's not much I can tell that's really gonna make it physically different for you, because there are so many places to put the flute here. I don't think that putting the flute below the lower lip is any helpful, because this is too low for most of the people, because of the lip covering the whole of the head joint here. Now, the head joint should always be halfway on the lip. Depending on the size of the lip, it's going to be in a different position, of course. This is obvious. But since you're able to make good sound and play all the notes on the instrument, go on.
Great. Emmanuel, lots of questions are ticking in now concerning tonguing. Double tongue, single tongue, speed of tonguing, how you make it light, your tonguing. But there's one here that, well, this is one out of many. So I hope we can kind of cover all those by answering this one. Maybe from Winter Rosales, and he says, "Hi, my name is Winter Rosales from Nicaragua, and I want to know how do you practice your double tongue?" But as I said, there have been many other questions about single tonguing and double tonguing, maybe even triple tonguing. Something that's also covered, of course, as you say, in a video we did some years ago, flute fundamentals, but I think this is a great opportunity to dig into it once again.
Yeah. How do you practice double tongue? I don't know if you mean how do you learn double tonguing, or how do I personally practice to keep up with double tongue every day. You have to know that we professional players are playing every day. We are rehearsing, performing. We are using all these techniques every day, so we don't have to have practice to keep up with it, because we are using it every day. It's part of our knowledge and it's part of what we can do. Now I understand when you're students, of course, you don't have as many opportunities to play, but you are practicing every day. And while you practice, discover repertoire, discover pieces that have you play some staccato, that discover other pieces that have you play some legato. And this is where you can practice double tonguing best by repeating notes. Whenever you have a melody, or whether you have a piece with some staccato single notes, then start repeating that note and make sure that the second note, tagga, 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 da, rather tagga, tagga, da, rather than tagga, tagga, da, which is too hard with the tonguing. Remember, the sound is produced with the air on this instrument. It's a wind instrument. It's not produced by the tongue. If you go too hard with the tongue, it's going to block the air. That's not what we want. What we want is to liberate the air. The tongue is actually just surfing on top of the airstream, and is just liberating the air. It's just precising, refining the beginning of a note. Tonguing a note doesn't mean short. It just means that it's articulated in its beginning. Then the length of the notes can be long, middle, short, short, very short, whatever. You have as many combinations as your imagination or the imagination of the composer requires it. But take, for instance, this is the phrase in the solo, flute solo in Midsummer Night Dream by Mendelssohn. Depending on the conductor, it's going to be a very different character, very different tempo. I'm not going to get into that thing right now, but just to let you know, there is not one way to play. There's just 1,000 ways of playing it. And as a musician in an orchestra, you're going to have to be able to answer to whichever request comes from the conductor. And if they want something longer, you'll have to play. If they want something really short and crisp, did you see any difference here with the lips? No. Again, the problem is on the flute and any wind instrument, everything is happening inside. You don't see much. Of course, if I see you playing, I see how you breathe, I see how you hold your instrument, I see how much stress you put on yourself, I see how you cope with it, I see what you're made of and how you use what you're made of, and there I can help you doing these kind of things. Now, your question about how to practice tonguing, or how do you keep with tonguing like this, just start with repeated notes and then go to some other pieces where you use the double tonguing, and go rather for daga 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 da, which is softer and more efficient in terms of tone projection, rather than taka taka ta, because this is going to interrupt the airflow and therefore is going to be much too sharp and not loud enough in order to carry.
Great. Okay. A very different question now, Emmanuel. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's getting hot in here. Okay. This one is from a very different part of the world. This is from Kansu Altunay. Excuse me if I don't pronounce his name right, but he's from Turkey. And he says, "Hello, I'm Kansu from Turkey. I want to ask, that if we have to take a break, for example, for a few months for medical reasons, how can we start practicing again without injuring ourselves? If you have tried that, Emmanuel.
I cannot possibly imagine how you can injure yourself with this thing called the flute. This is my problem. I'm afraid I don't even have the faintest idea of what you're talking about.
I think he means, for instance, if you go on your bicycle and you break your arm and you don't play the flute maybe for, let's say, 3 months, and you have to start again, and then it can be a pain in the butt to start again.
I think every doctor, after an accident or an operation, they will always say, if you feel that you want to walk, try it.
Yeah.
So if you feel you want to play the flute, give it a try. If you cannot hold the instrument, just take the head joint and just slide your finger in the head joint and you go. And you can produce many sounds, but at least you can keep this going. Or if you cannot hear, if you injured your lips or you got the cut here in the face or something, then take the flute and just practice a piece by fingering on the rest of the instrument. These are just examples right now, but it's really out of the blue and maybe not responding at all to your actual situation and why you are asking this question. I personally had a couple of bicycle accidents, and the latest one was 1 hour before a concert in the Philharmonie in Berlin, but I actually went on stage with some disinfectant and some paper and just was drying my hands, then playing the flute for 2 minutes, and then the next possibility was drying my hands and disinfecting them again and making sure this was not too, this was just saying okay, and now a good year later my hands are absolutely clean and nothing happened, but nothing worse than this.
Right.
So I just hope that there's nothing worse than this.
Yeah.
For you too.
I have personally I have a colleague who practices watching soccer, just the fingers. He's just sitting with his instrument. Is it kind of the same? Let's say you have a problem with your lips or your tongue, could be something like that. Well, why not watch some soccer game while you actually just keep your fingers going, just so the muscles, get smooth. That's another way, maybe.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of musicians, if they're honest, if they're asked how do you practice, well, a lot of them practice warm-ups in front of TV or looking out the window, and playing, because these things become automatic, idiomatic after a while. But what I was saying earlier, by combining different articulation dynamics, tempos, phrasings, and keys in 30 different ways, just like Michel Debos does it for the Daphne and Gobert scales, this is really going to have you think about what you're doing when you're practicing, and every day is going to be something different for a loop of 30 days. So by the time you're back to square one, you will completely have forgotten about it, but it's always going to be something fresh, something new for your fingers. And the problem is practicing always the same thing. If you practice the same thing, you really get stuck into it. You should always practice things that are new to you, so that they're no longer new to you. When you face them in a piece, in a concert situation or a rehearsal situation, then you will know how to handle them because you will have seen this before, and your fingers have this kind of memory. And this is why you have to do some smart practicing and find a system of doing some smart practicing in order to make some music out of it.
Yeah. Great. Here comes a question from all the way from Hong Kong. It's really fun doing this, actually.
Yeah, because it's the middle of the night in Hong Kong, in Beijing, or in Tokyo. It's in Turkey, or in Middle East, or Iran. It's late evening. Right now here it's the late afternoon. In Nicaragua or the United States, it's morning.
It's morning, yeah.
So this is really a thrill to be talking to all of you.
No matter what time it is, don't forget your coffee. That's important. Anyways, Eric Wong asks, hello, Emmanuel Pahud. This is KC from Hong Kong. Thanks for the masterclass. How much do you pull out the head joint from the body so that it's easy for you to be in tune in both high notes and low notes? Band director always asks flute players to pull out the head joint a lot so that flutists can play loud and in tune in high notes. But I found the low notes will become very flat, if so. Thanks a lot.
Well, every flute is built to a similar pitch. Usually they're built to A442, but some of them are built to A444 and some other are built to A440, depending whether it's the international model, the more American model, or the more European model. So therefore, it's again hard to answer the question. I don't know what pitch your band plays into, but I travel a lot and I have to face situations where the pitch is really far apart. I've had situations where I was playing with Baroque orchestras, they were playing a pitch of 425, so therefore I had to pull out by about as much as this, which is 2/3 of all the way. I've had other situations in Vienna where the piano was so sharp that I had to push in all the way. Generally, when I play at 442, 443, I'm pulled out by more or less 5 millimeters, I would say. I don't know how much that is in inches. But 5 millimeters, half a centimeter, is more or less what I try to pull out, because this is how the instruments have been conceived to be in tune by the makers.
Yeah. Great. Here comes one from Indonesia. This is Kevin. I've been learning flute for 2.5 years. Now I'm flute principal in Bandung Institute of Technology. Since I don't live in music environment, it's kind of hard for me to find answers. And I shorten your question a bit. I hope it's okay, because you asked many questions and one is concerning tonguing again, so we're going to skip that one. But he asks if he should get a B foot or a C foot. I'm confused by people around me.
C foot or B foot. There's often enough there is a B in the printed music. Therefore, I find it more convenient to have a B foot. I also find it more convenient because of all the additional keys that you have on the bottom here. You can combine them in a different way, and you can have a lot more fingering variations for the top notes, for the top octave. It gives you a lot more flexibility and control over these notes. On the other hand, the balance of the instrument with a C foot is different. The weight is lighter, it's better in balance. Ideally, a flute in D, a cut in D would actually be better, because this is how the flute has started. In the very first instrument that we were playing, the traverso, was a scale in D actually. Lifting one finger would just play a D major scale. Now with the Bohm flute it has been resolved, this problem. Now we play a C scale. So actually it's been conceived for a C foot, but I find B foot very convenient, and in the meantime I've really gotten used to it. It's a matter of what you use it for. If you never play a B foot, then if you never play a B, then you don't need a B foot, I would say. If you do encounter Bs and you really want to play music with low Bs, such as transcriptions from the violin or sonatas by Mozart, for instance, if you play the E minor sonata that he wrote for the violin, you have to start on a lower B, or both times I had to hit the lower B, and this piece would have not much sense if I had to play it an octave higher. So for my purpose, I do need a flute with a B foot joint. If you don't play this kind of music, then probably you never need a B foot.
Mm-hmm. Great. I hope this answered your question. Next one is from Adrienne Baker, and she is from the States. She says, "Hello, my name is Adrienne from the USA. At what tempo do panels realistically expect to hear excerpts such as Firebird?" This is a very specific question. Recordings I've heard are about 68 to 72, but as you know, the score calls for faster. So, do you have any thoughts on that, Emmanuel?
You know, nowadays with all the social media and all the material that's available, whether it is available under copyright or not on YouTube, that's a different question, but there's a lot of information about this. If you watch our digital concert hall channel of the Berlin Philharmonic or excerpts, you will find the answer that with the same orchestra many conductors would deliver very different interpretations. Sometimes on the same symphony, there's a difference of 90 minutes. There's a difference of 10 minutes in the length of the interpretation. Therefore, tempo is a very individual thing that that has to do with the conductor. If you audition for an orchestra, listen to the latest recordings and figure out what tempo they've been used to play it, what tempo they have in their ears, and try to match it. That's the answer. What's printed in the part is, of course, what it should be. Now, for many reasons, it's an idealistic thing by the composer. In many cases, this is true already in Beethoven symphonies with the metronome markings. And some people also do believe that it's actually all the markings should be cut by half. And instead of using them for the quarter notes, they use it for the eighth note, therefore cutting the speed by half, which is of course drastic and probably not the right answer either. It gives you an idea of what it is to talk about interpretation, and this is very subjective. I cannot tell that the panel expects you to play Firebird. I don't even know what excerpt you're referring to, because there's many places, many spots in the Firebird that they could be playing. Of course, there's a etc. And then you have also the etc. Then you have the other one with the dance, but there with the Firebird dance, these are either the version for 2 flutes or for 4 flutes. The one that Stravinsky published when he was in Europe in 1913, actually, for this ballet, when it was done in Paris, and the other one later, which was published in America when he republished his entire works. This would be a realistic pulse or something that is familiar to me in Berlin Philharmonic. So I hope this helps you.
Yeah. Okay, here comes a question in Spanish. I know you speak some Spanish.
Yes,
you actually speak very good Spanish, but and there have been many other questions that actually surf around the same subjects. But well, I'll try to ask it in Spanish since it's from Mateo Bertancur Ramirez, and he says, "¿Cómo articular bien en las notas graves?" And you can translate that yourself. You probably know better.
Yeah, how to articulate well in the lower notes. Well, the thing is not to get any tension on the lips. Sin tensión con los labios. Because the lower lips are in the way, the more tense they are, the higher it's going to sound. By squeezing the lips con más presión con los labios, va a ser... It's going to jump 1 octave. Va a tocar una octava más alto. If you want to stay with a lower note, keep it as relaxed as possible in order to have less pressure, because less pressure means lower octave. And keep it open, because more airflow, más abierto quiere decir más aire, y más aire quiere decir más fuerte. No difference in the lower octave, and then the only difference is the pressure. You cannot see it here, but what you can see is I use more volume in the cheeks. In order to expand the air. And therefore, with the doubling the volume, the air pressure is going to be half. And therefore, it's going to sound an octave lower. Pues no sé cómo decirlo en español, pero usando más volumen aquí, va a ser menos presión con el aire y por eso va a tocar mejor en las notas graves. Un octavo más alto. You don't see this happening anymore, but works a bit better if you let the cheeks inflate a little bit for the lower notes. But then tone quality control. If I try to exaggerate this to show it to you, then of course you hear right away that the tone quality suffers a little bit also if you overdo it. So it's just the way to go, to think about it, to relax more, but don't overdo it. It's not the recipe, it's not the secret, but it's the way to go.
I hope that answered your question. Here comes another one from far away. This is from, and I should be able to sort of pronounce this correctly. Let's see, João André de Siqueira Campos. And he writes, hello, my name is, well, he called himself John, and I speak from Brazil. Several times I heard you talk about the sound between the nose and the eyes. I wonder, how do I think and how can I make sure I'm doing it right? You use the diaphragm to help achieve the high registers. Thank you. And actually, Emmanuel, there have been many questions also ticking in where they ask you talk about. I remember in the master classes you did about the wasabi also. Yeah. So there's a lot of questions about this nose thing, this projection thing.
Look at what singers are doing. Look at what actors are doing. We do use the same for projecting, for focusing the tone. I try to play thinking about this point, sending the air here through my nose to this point, into my head, through the nose. This is the point that opens up when you eat too much wasabi, horseradish, or mustard, strong mustard. So if you have never tried these ingredients, of course you don't know what I'm talking about. But it's really the feeling that your nose is going to open up because of the spice, and the air is going to go this way. It's a point where the sound is able to resonate and focus in your head. And for singers, the same thing. It's the head resonance that is maximized by sending the air through this point. In your mind, you have to think about this, but actually what you do is open up. It's like singing ga, and then ga is with the palate closed, and is with the palate open, and then the air opens up, behind the eyes and above the nose. We have a cavity that's about the size of both hands open up here together, about this volume. If this resonates, this maximizes the power of the flute, and this way you can play much louder and have a much more in tune sound also at the same time. Because if you focus your sound there, in this space, whichever dynamic and range you're playing, you're always going to be in tune, because you're going to be always playing around the same spot. If you move around that spot, then you're going to play out of tune. And if you rely on the instrument to make the intonation for you, then you probably are also on the wrong belief, because the instrument doesn't play in tune or out of tune. You play in tune or out of tune. The diaphragm part of the question, diaphragm is a reflex muscle that separates actually the lower organs, digestive organs, for instance, from the lungs, and which allows the lung capacity to be reduced to expel the air or expand it in order to inhale the air. So this is what you use under normal breathing circumstances. What we do when we play the flute is we stop the diaphragm in order to breathe in the air and then force it in a rest position, so that the diaphragm is not going on with this reflex motion. So what we do is exactly the opposite. We don't use the diaphragm. We cut it off from the power system, and we just squeeze with the different muscles on all sides, starting from the low part of the upper body. We expel the air, and by breathing we just expand the volume, again by starting and sending the air as low as possible. But the diaphragm is not in the game to play any wind instrument, actually.
Okay, well, time passes very fast in good company. We have 4 minutes left, less than 4 minutes. So a short question or answer to this one, Emmanuel, and then unfortunately we will round off. But here is one from, hello Mr. Pahud. Thank you for giving your time for this masterclass. My name is Leo Bentzvi and I'm from the US. I have 2 questions. One is about the lower register, so we're going to skip that one because you already spoke about that. But the other one, how important is understanding music theory in mastering the flute? And you have 1 minute to answer this.
Yeah, well, music, flute is one of many music instruments. If you want to play music together with other people, you better understand music. because this is the common thing that we're doing. When we're playing a piece together with a pianist, we should articulate, we should speak the language of the piece in the same way and not like two foreign languages. The music should be something that we have in common when we're playing together with other people and not something that distinguishes us from one another. And this is where we have to be as flexible as possible. So I would say mastering the flute helps you play music in very different ways because it's a musical instrument, and as such, as an instrument, it just means to make music. Music knowledge and music understanding and analysis of pieces and of the intentions of the composers is something that's going to help you understand the language of the piece that you're playing and find the right, maybe mobilizing the right efforts, both with the finger, with the lungs, also with the control of the entire body, the way you hold the flute and how to produce the sound and how to articulate and how to breathe and how to sustain the air, whether to use vibrato or not, etc. All this, of course, is starting once you know what you're using it for.
Yeah.
And this is why it's all about music. So therefore, it cannot be coming last, but it's actually coming first.
Well, it's we have around 1 minute left, so I think we'll have to round off now. Unfortunately, we have like at least 20 times as many questions from many different places. I hope all the great answers that Emmanuel came up with now answers lots of your questions anyhow, even though there are other very technical, very specific questions. But well, this was a beginning, Emmanuel.
You know, let me just stress a few points before we shut down this live chat. But I think it's really important to breathe properly, first thing. Breathe and send as much air as deep as possible in your lungs.
I'll just go in here so we can extend it just with a few minutes. You just continue.
Right. Because that's the prerequisite in order to really play any wind instrument is first of all breathe in the air properly. That's what you need for life and that's what you need for playing the flute too. Now the second thing is try to keep this as relaxed as possible. The shoulders, the neck. Don't go forward to your flute. Bring the flute to you. Hold the flute and try to produce the sound within your arms and hold the sound within your arms so that you cherish what you're doing. Don't hold the flute as if you were about to fall off a branch from a tree because you're not actually hanging to the flute, but you're rather holding it next to you, and it's the extension of your breath. And by doing this, you will be as natural as possible, as physically relaxed as possible, and therefore be able to control as much as you wish the emotions or the expression conveyed by the music. Great.
Emmanuel, thanks so much.
Thank you, Adam. I think this is just a start today.
I think so too.
It's a very sunny day and sunny evening, so there's a lot of other things to do and such a wonderful day. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks for this great opportunity. I know there's a lot of great things also for many other instruments. You can watch also other great ideas coming from other great artists on this program. Play with a Pro.
Exactly, Play with a Pro. Just to round off, we'll put this one out on the website for you to watch again, or if you have friends who would like to dig into it and watch Emmanuel's answers and learn from it, it's at playwithapro.com. There are lots of videos with Emmanuel explaining music by Bach and by Mozart. There are duets, there are masterclasses, fundamentals, interview, and now we'll put this one on as well. Thanks a lot, everyone. It's been really fun getting all your questions and see you chatting with us. And first of all, thanks to you, Emmanuel, and I hope you'll enjoy.
Thanks very much, Adam.
Thanks.
And for you, have fun playing music, playing the flute.
Yeah, thanks. See you soon.
See you soon.